Okay, everybody, welcome to a very exciting episode of the Details podcast. I am so jazzed because today we have Han and Holden on the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Oh, we're
Our
so stoked
pleasure.
to
Oh my
be
gosh.
here. You've been like our number one supporter since day one, so we're just stoked that we get to talk to you.
Well, the feeling is mutual, you guys, because I've watched Amazing Race for a long time. I also want to know, how long have you guys watched Amazing Race?
Holden, do you want to get into it?
Sure. We've been watching the race since I'd say I don't know. I feel like I started watching it in elementary school. It seems like our answers have been changing a lot throughout the last few weeks.
That's okay.
I think I've been watching for a while though. I think again the stories are different. I don't know what it is. I think our dad introduced it to us. I also have a very distinct memory that someone from third grade introduced it to me. So I don't know. A lot of Mandela effect is happening right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been watching it, and then I took a break during high school. I feel like a lot of people, but somehow I was rewatching old seasons, and season 32 I thought happened when I was in middle school, but it turned out it happened when I was in high school. So I guess I was also watching throughout high school. But I've always been a big fan, and we've always just been big fans of the idea, the aspect that it emphasizes on travel.
Yes.
And really, really getting out there. I think the emphasis is for you to do more rather than continue watching more.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge emphasis on race that we really, really appreciated growing up.
Love that. I was researching a little bit before our podcast and I was trying to find fun stats and figures and numbers. And do you know a random thing I found? Holden, it says you're the only U.S. contestant who was born after the Amazing Race air date.
No way.
Amazing Race 1.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with Phil at some point where he was like, "Do you remember this team?" And I was like, "Phil, I don't know if I was alive for that team." So yeah, I do definitely feel young, but it is a testament to how cool race is that it's been able to stay in the American ether for so long that now its contestants can be younger than the show itself.
That is so true. So true. And I know on the show they kind of highlighted that you guys were a young team, but honestly, watching it, I mean, I'm 34 years old. You guys seem wise beyond your years. I don't know if you've lived a ton of lives or just had such a plethora of life experience, but it seems like you guys are really skilled in a lot of different areas, like diverse skill sets. You seem to be well traveled because you can handle navigation and very good and effective communicators. So I guess I can just dive in with the questions. And I kind of mentioned it before we started rolling, but sometimes TV can just show one side of people because that's all they really have time for is a one-dimensional story. So my goal in this podcast is, talk about the Amazing Race, but also just talk about you guys as people because I feel like you do have so much background that was brought into the Amazing Race and that's what made you successful. And so I really just want to ask a bunch of questions. So if it sounds random, it might be.
I feel like just what you were saying, I mean, talking about just the many lives that both of us have lived. I mean, I've just gotten I'm still in my 2-year sabbatical, partly because I'm haven't found a job yet, but I spent the first half of my sabbatical just solo backpacking and traveling, and something I really learned is wisdom truly comes at no age. It's not like you hit 30 and you suddenly become wise. It's truly correlated with how much life you've lived and how many risks you've taken and the adversity that you faced. And I think Holden and I both have gone through so much, just being children of first generation immigrants, growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood, Holden going off to we can talk about this later, but getting kicked out of his middle school and getting sent to military school and him navigating that and my experience as a D1 athlete. I feel I think that's something that we also hope to show is yes, there's a lot of aspects of our game that definitely came across as young, and ignorant and kind of a mess. But I feel something that I don't want to downplay is our ability to self-reflect and the insights that we had that were so pivotal in terms of our progression throughout this race. Because I mean, there's so many people that were saying that, we think they're going to get out early just because of the brother-sister curse, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
But a huge part of how we navigated that is just the life experiences that we had and like our wisdom that we were able to harness during that time.
Oh, for sure. 100% agree with you guys. I mean, without even knowing you guys at all, just watching you on TV and talking to you for like 5 seconds here. I 100% agree. And I need to apologize because every season of The Amazing Race, my husband and I like have a competition with each other. We always like pick who's your top 3, like, and we don't show each other like at first. We're like, no, you pick your top 3, you pick, and we pick who we think is going to be in the finale. Just because, I don't know, you don't know anyone right away. And it's kind of like, I don't know, betting on horse races or something. Not that I'm even into gambling, but we always try to pick our top 3 based on, like you said, like historically, male-female teams that are like in romantic relationships do well. Male-male teams seem to dominate. And then unfortunately, female-female teams just historically tend to go out early. Not always, but a lot of the time. And then sibling teams either fight or get out like early to the middle of the pack. So like in my mind when I was reading the bios, I'm like, and I told you this, Han. I was like, when I saw the pictures of the cast, didn't even read like much about you because there really wasn't much information let out actually this time. I was like, these two, their energy is off the charts. They are just positive vibes. And then when you guys came out with your social media rollout, you had like Daft Punk around the world. You had a sweet photo shoot. Like you were on brand with your purple color story. I was like, they are hitting like all the marks. I love them. But I was scared. I was like, I can't put them in my top 3 because of historic numbers, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel so stupid. I'm so sorry.
Literally
No
none
worries.
taken at all. I mean, our parents were even like, you're not even in our top 3. Like, they're like, our money's not on you guys. So literally, we get it. I think also something funny is like, we had family members that were just like, yo, I don't even know if you're going to be able to make it out of the United States. Just like from the way that we communicated and like just the way that we would problem solve together prior to the race. But I think like the beauty of this journey was like, proving to everyone, but like most importantly ourselves, that like we had what it took to succeed together. So like I totally get everyone's like preconceptions and stuff, like it makes sense, but I think like that was the beauty of our journey.
For sure. Well, and it was mentioned a little bit that you guys hadn't been together for 7 years. That's a substantial amount of time. What happened during that time? Were you off at school on one end of the country and you at the other, or you were traveling, or what was that 7 years like? And we can go big story. You don't have to dive into the nitty gritty if you don't want to.
Yeah, essentially what happened was I was at military school starting in 8th grade. And so then I was gone for a lot of that, and then Han started college, and then when Han finished college, I was going into college. So like really not that much time spent together. Also, we also operated under very different schedules as children. Being that she was like at different schools and like she had different activities. So there really was no overlap with my sister during that time.
Wow. That's
so like our main interactions straight up, like I would come home from college for like winter break and Holden would come home from military school for winter break, and then we would like, you know, crack a joke because honestly our banter slaps. But then
it does.
But then Holden would just like do something annoying, like forget to put up the toilet seat while he's going to the toilet, and then it would piss me off, and then we would get into this huge argument. And then, like, we would never resolve it. I would just fly to the other side of the country, and Holden would go back to school.
Peace out.
And so, like, that was our communication for 7 years. So that was, like, what we were up against.
Got it. So that was your communication for 7 years. You see each other on winter break, and one winter break, you were like, do you want to go on the race together? Or how did that conversation come about? Because I don't know.
Do you want to answer this one?
I was going to let you answer it, but okay. So basically... I've been on, like I said, like a kind of a career sabbatical for the past 2 years, and I had come back. Christmas is very important to our family, so I had come back from my travels in December, and Holden was back from winter break during that time too, and instead of studying for finals, Holden admits to just like watching a lot of The Amazing Race.
Reruns
and,
or live? Or...
I believe it's reruns.
Love. I do that too.
And apparently, and Holden can attest to this, like, didn't do too well in the final, but he did watch a lot of The Amazing Race. And he came up to me and was like, Han, like, I think we have a shot at the $1 million. And granted, at the time, you know, we're young, dumb, we just want to have fun, we love to crack a joke. And I was like, you know what, like, I don't know if we can get the $1 million, but like, let's just try, you know? Like, I have nothing to do, I have nothing to lose. So we ended up submitting an audition video, and it just ended up working out so well with us. Like, we got in the door right away. The audition process was pretty expedited, and then we ended up getting the call back.
Amazing.
And then we realized that we actually had to do the race and communicate with each other. And that was a whole new adventure in and of itself.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. So did you apply through the website, or did you work with the casting producer, like connect on social media and go from there?
We went through the website. We had to do the process, but I was still trying to like send DMs to any casting producers that I could find on the web. So
Yeah.
it was kind of this and that. Not really just one strategy.
Yeah. Well, because I think, Han, you posted like a thank you to a bunch of people, and in the fine print, Pollyanna, I don't remember.
Yeah, Pollyanna.
Was she your casting or producer?
She
Yes,
was.
huge
yeah.
shout out to her. Like, she totally believed in us from the beginning, and I think, like, she was the main point of contact in terms of the DMing that Holden did.
Yeah.
And even she was saying, like, something in my gut just told me to give you guys a chance. And so she helped refine her story and like push us through, but like truly, we would not have gotten the opportunity if we like didn't get so lucky with the people that believed in us. And there's so many other people that like along the journey that we can thank too, but like she is definitely one of them.
Amazing. Love that for you. And that it was expedited and easy, and you weren't like hung out to dry for months. That's nice. Okay, so question. So you get the good news. You guys are cast, and like you said, oh my gosh, now we actually have to run the race. How did you prepare for the race from the time you found out you were going to be on it to day one? Let's go.
In terms of our preparation, I think something that we regret is that we did it kind of separately. In that we had Han do her strengths, practice her strengths, and we had me practice mine, but we didn't really practice each other's strengths, which I don't think was very smart.
Okay.
And
It sounds like such a duh thing to do.
Okay.
But like thinking about like the way that we grew up and like our communication styles and stuff, like it just makes sense for us in terms of like, all right, Holden, you do your thing, Han, I'll do my thing, and like, you know, we'll figure out navigation on the race, which is literally what we did.
Wait, really? Because
Holden,
it looked like you guys were both pro stick shift drivers, so that was one of my questions as well. Did you both know how to stick shift drive before the race?
we did learn how to do that, but in terms of like other skills, I think that like you have to know how to ride drive stick.
Yeah.
But like everything else, you kind of like we thought you could get away with not knowing.
basically the thing is like I think what we didn't know anything. Okay, we're literally just trying to have the time of our lives, and like the way we were prepared, we like made sure we were in shape.
Yeah.
But something we should have prepared was like our pattern recognition and our puzzle skills and all of that. And like hearing about how other castmates prepared, I was like, holy crap, we had no idea what we were doing. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the race, and like how we did so well too as well, is like each leg, we truly were just trying to work and adapt to like what was given to us. So we had no preconceived notions at all, and like the only leg that we had preconceived notions was the last one, and I think that was like why we couldn't finish it off.
Yeah.
But like I think that's just like part of it. Like I think we're just super adaptable as a team. Like we just, and I think that's like kind of how we've lived our lives, just because of just the way that we problem solve. Like I wouldn't say that we're super logical. I think we're really scrappy, and I think that is really where our strengths lie. And there's like some other teams were telling us like, oh, like, you know, kind of like assumed, like we were talking like, you know, jokingly about first impressions of other teams, and like,
Yeah.
you know, we definitely got stereotyped in a certain way, and I think we are really smart. But I think the way in which we're smart is different from how we were stereotyped by other people, which is like fine and normal. But like,
Okay.
yeah, we're just really scrappy.
Yeah, well, and I also wonder because, you know, there's the time that you guys are being filmed, but then there's times when cameras are off, and you guys, you know, you did improve your standing. I think overall you had your average positioning was 5th, but you guys finished 2nd place. And like from the early legs, you were kind of lower, and then you kept going up. So my question is, what did you guys do? What strategies or communication did you do when the cameras weren't rolling to reflect on each leg and make those improvements? Because you guys did make improvements and you kept racing smarter and better. And I know, like, for a minute, Han, you reflected, at least on camera, about struggling with your perfectionism. And I, as a fellow oldest daughter, I could relate to that so much. But you guys as a team, I felt like, really just constantly kept improving. So how did you do that, and what did you talk about at nights or whenever the cameras were off?
I think what we did was we just, like, our first performance wasn't very good, and neither was our second performance, or our third performance.
But you made it. Like, you made it through.
But, like, yeah, I think the big thing was that, like, we knew that we were starting from, like, zero, and so what we wanted to do is we wanted to build on top of everything that we had.
For sure.
So, like, after each leg, we would just say, like, okay, today we need to practice urgency. And so, like, that was our goal for the next leg. And so then after we had urgency, then we, like, added, like, trust in ourselves. And so after we added that, we added another thing and another thing. And, like, eventually, like, everything that you've already practiced becomes second nature, and everything that you're working on becomes your focus. And so, like, it's not solely focusing on breathing and not doing the challenge. It's solely focusing on when you are stressed out, what are you going to react to? And so what is your first avenue of, like, success? And it was thinking about, it's like, okay, so now we're going to, like, connect our synapse of breathing to everything else we know. And then you're going to continue building on top of that. And it served us well all the way to the final leg.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you said a lot there, and I have a couple questions. You said, breathing through the stress. So a lot of times past racers have described the race as a pressure cooker, like just a constant stressful environment that people watching cannot relate to at all. When they're sitting on their couch watching it, being entertained, they have no idea what that racer is going through, the pressures of the race or anything like that. So if there is fans out there watching this, how would you describe the amount of stress and pressure that you're on in the race to, like, a person who's never experienced it? Like, is there any type of real world comparison that would come close? Probably not.
I feel like it's just next level. Like, I remember straight up, it's just the first scramble of, like, getting our bags and getting to the LA airport. Holden and I got to the airport, we got our tickets. Really, we thought we would be on that first flight because our egos were, like, during that first leg. And Holden and I were like, holy crap, like, what have we gotten ourselves into? This is going to be brutal. And I think the best way that I can describe it is you feel like every single decision that you're making is life or death. And the stakes are just so freaking high for every single thing that you're doing. And your brain is in survival mode. It feels like the Hunger Games.
So this is a question I've had for a little bit. Were you guys cheerleaders in your life? Because your entry scene, you guys were, like, hyping up the crowd and, like, let me hear you. I was like, are they cheerleaders, or did you guys premeditate that motion? How'd that come about?
Oh, we just like to have fun. So, like, I don't know if there's any deeper meaning behind it than I just like to have fun.
Yeah, and I feel like that's, like, the beauty of us, genuinely. Like, we're very authentic and real people, and what you see is what you get. And I remember during the casting process, Jesse Tannenbaum was like, you guys are awful when we try to script you, but you guys are fantastic when we just let you flow. So, and I think that's, like, the beauty of our relationship too, that you get to see is, like, we're just, like, a real sibling, like, duo. Like, we have fights. Holden's an annoying younger brother. Han can be overbearing older sister, and, like, we still love each other regardless, and, like, have each other's backs no matter what.
I love that. Love that. And I mean, there have been some other sibling teams on the race that, like, really go at each other. And like you said, at times Holden could feel like the younger brother, and Han, you could feel like the older sister, but I don't ever feel like it was in a negative way. Like, yeah, it was just, like, regular squabbling, but it wasn't, like, really, oh gosh, this is cringy to watch on TV, because some siblings have been like that, and you guys were still easy to watch. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, Holden, before you logged on, Han, but I was wondering while I was watching, I was like, what did Holden do in the military? Because I feel like there's certain points where he's just giving master classes in communication. I have some written down. Because you're very clear and direct, and I feel like that works on the race. Like, here you're like, when you're going up the staircase, I'm dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. I need you to quit talking to me. Like you said, what you're feeling and what you need. And then in the finale challenge, you're like, I don't need you to motivate me right now. I need you to let me focus. Like, A, that takes a very self-aware person, and B, to be able to like articulate that and say what you need, I think is really admirable. And I think that your guys' communication, your high level of communication, is one of the things that helped you get really far on the race. So how did you guys become such good communicators?
Oh, I just want to make clear for the listeners, I was not in the military. I have a lot of respect for people in the military. I went to military school.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no worries, Tara. I don't know. I think that we're just pretty good at at least I am. I'm pretty good at like just expressing my discomfort with something. And so I was just gonna say it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that like there is no better way than just saying it directly. I don't think that like beating around the bush really helps anyone. I think all it does is just like makes things go slower. So yeah, I was not having a good time. So when I wasn't having a good time, I was just going to say it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, and you're on the race, like you said earlier. You feel like every decision is life or death, and your time is of the essence. So I'm sure you're just like, I got to get this out. I got to say it now. I don't have time to sugarcoat it or deliver it eloquently. It's like, we got to get this task done and move on to the next thing. So you just got to say how you feel and say what you need and move on. I thought that was good.
Absolutely.
And
in the highest pressure situations, like the communication has to be at its clearest. And I don't know. I think that like that's something that we did not struggle. Well, at least I did not struggle with.
Yeah, no, I thought you guys were really good. And then also, like you said earlier, you do have tons of witty banter. You're so great unscripted. And I did listen to the Purple Pants podcast when you guys were on with Isaiah and Holden. You said it was your goal to get some episode titles.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like every episode I was trying so hard. I'd be like, and then like at the end of the episode, I'd be like, oh my God, that's got to be the episode title. But I everybody else on the cast is pretty witty and pretty good too. So I only got one, but I'm very happy with my one.
And which one was it? Because I don't remember the episode titles themselves. What was it called?
It was We're Letting Race Brain Win.
And I got B1 with the hay.
Yes. Nice.
So.
I mean, that has to be hard though. If your goal is obviously to perform well in the race, but also to be witty. My brain, I'm not witty enough. I could not be thinking up cool stuff on the fly. I'd have to like premeditate it and memorize it before I went or something, because I would just be like race brain and be like, what am I doing now? I can't think of anything funny. But you guys are just so naturally funny, and I think that really connected with the audience, is just how funny you guys are.
Yeah, and I think also just like it was so stressful, and honestly, like for me, it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I've done like really hard stuff just like in the past 2 years. And just like there were so many moments that I think it did come across on camera, but like so many moments where like we were playing with our backs up against the wall basically the entire time.
Yeah.
And like that definitely takes its toll on you. But like something that really helped alleviate that stress was just like practicing gratitude and being so thankful for the opportunity that we had and like that we got to share together. And I remember when we were in Naples, when, you know, that was the non-elimination leg, and like we were in dead last. We were probably like 20 minutes behind.
Wow.
And we just like truly were savoring every single second. Like there was this scene where like the guy at the sausage stand gave us a cappuccino, and like we just were like, I know we're in dead last, but we have to enjoy this cappuccino in Italy from this random sausage man. And like, that's what we did. And like, there's so many little moments like that like we practice. Like even when we were U-turn, like with the hay,
yeah.
I remember I'm like freaking out, sobbing low key, you know, taking out the hay. And Holden was like, Han, we're in Bulgaria. And I was like, that is so true. Like, I would have never gone to Bulgaria, maybe not never, but like a random country, you know?
Yeah.
And Bulgaria is gorgeous. And like, we just took a moment to like look at the hills and like appreciate where we were. And then, you know, started picking hay with smiles on our faces, kind of with stress.
Yeah.
But like, that was something that was really important to us.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like over the history of the race, there's only two responses when people are up against the wall or they know they're in last place. They're either like you guys and you're really appreciative and you're absorbing what's around you, or there's the response of like, this sucks, we're going to be out, and like just the very negative whirlwind mindset. And it's not just this season, it's every single season. Like whoever is in last place, they have one of those two. I don't feel like anyone's been like, unfazed, like it's either very happy, very thankful, or like, this absolutely sucks, it's the worst, can't get that out of their mind. So you're talking about racing with your backs up against the wall a lot. I want to talk about the flip side of that, is people who raced towards the front of the pack a lot. And specifically what I want to ask you guys about is the public U-turn vote, or what was it called when you all just like held up the pictures?
Live U-turn.
That's what it's called. Live U-turn vote. Okay. Again, I'm just sitting on the couch with my husband and my son, and we're watching. And the whole time, like before you guys all show your answers, my husband and I are thinking, oh, everyone is going to vote. Obviously, Anna and Jonathan, because of the rice thing with the poundage. But then we thought for sure, on lock, everyone's going to vote the green team with the Dungeon Brothers, Carson and Jack, because they'd been performing so well consistently at the top of the pack. When I tell you we were floored to see them not get voted, I mean, I'm not over exaggerating, because I know, and I listened to everyone share their piece about why they voted for mom and dad, the pink team. What was their names again?
Scott and Lori.
Yes, thank you. Why everyone voted for Scott and Lori. And they had started doing really well those past two legs, but I was like looking at the over arc of how the race had gone to that point. I was like, Team Green is crushing it. They're for sure going to get voted. Can you guys please tell me why they went so under the radar? Like, I know they said, oh, we had in our own mindset, like this and that, but like how they performed, I felt like spoke otherwise. They were crushing it.
I think something worthy of like distinguishing is that you have no idea who placed where in the last leg. You only know where you yourself placed, which I think plays a huge role in like you find out at the airport the next day who placed where.
Okay.
And so like it's like this 1-2 where like I would say you could probably, I can't speak for Jack and Carson, but you could probably sneak under the radar fairly easily if you're not very public about, like, I wouldn't say you're withholding information, but I think that like it is very possible to play it down. I just think that like unfortunately for Scott and Lori, the way that they played it down like rubbed a lot of teams the wrong way, including us, in the sense that like it seemed that they weren't really playing down their position more than they were playing down like their abilities, but their abilities were shown to be very competent, especially like having done like opera with them and seeing them in the action with that, and seeing them throughout the whole leg. Like they're great racers. And so like I know Lori speaks about how like in their mind that's how they felt, but that just wasn't how it was perceived for us. But meanwhile, Jack and Carson, like I think because there was another leader being very vocal about their abilities, Jack and Carson didn't really have to say much because they could slide under, especially with the driver's seat and Jonathan and Anna being forced to make some bad blood with teams. I think that is really what set up that recipe for disaster for the two U-turn teams, and why Jack and Carson were really able to like slide on by.
Okay, that makes so much sense, and thank you for explaining that, because I would have never thought about that way. Like, yeah, obviously I'm sitting on a couch, I see people's placements every week, and like, yeah, you guys are not quarantined, but you guys are probably like, you're not supposed to interact too much when the cameras go off when you don't know how the leg ended. That makes so much sense. Fascinating. That's fascinating. I'm sure there's like little things like that people sitting at home watching you guys and watching things unfold would never know. But one funny thing I heard, and gosh, now I feel bad because I can't remember what podcast I heard it on, but someone was like, if they got first to what was it called when you had a disadvantage your team, your competitors, like when Jonathan and Anna got there first and they had to like put more weight of rice on people.
The driver's seat, yes.
Driver's seat, yeah. Driver's seat. Okay, I'm really bad with remembering the names and obviously time zones, but when I heard some podcaster, and I feel really bad that I can't remember who it is, but they were like, if I got to a driver's seat first, I would like hide in a bush and wait till someone else got there first. So then they would have to, because you're forced to make that decision, and then they would come in second. I'm like, that's actually pretty smart, because it sucks because you're like, hey, I'm doing well, I got here first, but then now I have to make bad blood with people. That sucks.
Yeah, I feel like something that I remember the story producer, they were asking us like, okay, like what are you guys going to do when you get to the driver's seat? And Holden and I are like laughing our butts off because we're in the back. We're like, we're not getting the driver's seat. And I think like part of the game that we played was like, there's some teams that we believe would have given us 25, but we just had a lot of faith that the team that we had really great blood with, which was Jonathan and Anna, would get there first and would give us not 25. And so I think if we were in the driver's seat, we would have been screwed, just like given our challenge abilities relative to everyone else.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I didn't want the driver's seat. I'm going to be real with you. I saw that and I was like, this just seems like the best opportunity to stir some stuff up in the top third.
Yeah.
Because we just weren't there. And we were like, all right, you guys. And this is a line I wish that they showed. But I said, like, I'm so glad mommy and daddy are fighting in the front seat and the kids get to steer in the back seat. That should have been the episode
That
title.
is good.
Isn't that good?
That's so good. How did that? And then I'm sure you guys are like, how did that not make it in?
Yeah, well, we have so many jokes like that are like, oh, really? But you left this one in? Okay.
Like, you guys have an hour and a half now. It's not 60 minutes. You could have put that in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, that is really good. Yeah, and I mean, question, when did they tell you that this was going to be the season of surprises? Was that during casting? Were you going into thinking like, hey, this is going to be a COVID season, or this is back to regular style racing, or this is like a whole new season of surprises, or was that like starting day on the mat disclosed?
I think for sure it was the starting day on the mat, but like it kind of like I don't think Holden and I were fazed by it just because of our attitude through the whole race of like we can't control anything. All we can do is react in the most calm manner possible. So I think like that's not something like every single time a surprise was thrown our way. Like for example, seeing that there was a U-turn board again and getting U-turned at hay. Like we saw that and we were like, this sucks. I hate the season of surprises. But we weren't thinking like early on, like, oh my God, potentially there's a U-turn board. What are we going to do? You know what I mean? We just like truly tried to finish everything and focus on everything like one step, 1 second, one task at a time.
Yeah, because if you look too far out, you can really stress yourself out and get more in your head. And yeah, looking at that next best step makes sense. Which also, speaking of that second U-turn, I feel like there was a lot of chatter online with people like, how did they not U-turn Team Green? And is it true? And maybe you can't say yes or no to this. So if you can't speak on it, just say we can't speak on this, Tara. But you have to like pick who you're going to U-turn before you open the clue box and like you see how many clues are left. So obviously, if it's closed, you don't know how many clues are in there. So you think, oh, there's only one person or one team behind me. You don't know, oh, there's actually multiple. Is that something you can speak on or no?
Yeah, I think we can speak on it.
Okay.
But just like basically, long story short, I knew that there was a team that was lost. I just didn't know who. Oh. I originally thought it was Alyssa and Josiah. Just from my intuition of like, I don't know, we never saw Jack and Carson ever in our entire lives, basically, because they were always so far ahead. And I was like, there's no way that they could have gotten lost.
Yeah.
So like I was telling people like spreading the propaganda. I'm like, Alyssa and Josiah are behind us, whatever. But yeah, people had no idea. I think Holden and I were the last team to have made that observation because Nick and Mike and Eric and Melinda got there when Mark and Brett and Anna and Jonathan had left.
Okay.
So, and Alyssa and Josiah just long gone. We didn't see them.
We didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I'm going to touch on one more of the surprises, and then I'm going to go on to like just random questions that I can't make flow into each other, but just stuff I want to know. Okay.
Good.
So thank you you guys for being so kind and even just like hopping on here and answering all my random questions. This is like my happiest day.
Oh, no worries, you're doing great.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so my last surprise question is on the leg that you guys were racing, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember which country it was in, but I think it was Italy. Naples, was that the non-elimination leg? Yeah. Okay, phew, got it right. As you were racing, at any point were you like, I've noticed there has not been a surprise yet. Could it possibly be a non-elimination leg?
Definitely. I think that like we were getting that vibe. However, I think that Phil also knew that. So like he really made our mat conversation a long time, especially because there was no team behind us. And like with no team behind you, like you have unlimited time. You're not like rushing the conversation to be like, oh, and here comes like so and so coming into the mat now. Like we're gonna end this so that we can talk to them. So he made it a really long time, and like the whole like theme of that conversation was reflection. And so then I was like in my head I was like, oh wow, the surprise for this leg is that there is no surprise, and we're going home, which was something that I was thinking about. And then when he said that like he was a non, like he would like mention like, oh, but it's the season of surprises, like what's one more surprise, like that was when we were like, okay, we're saved, like oh my gosh, thank God.
Literally. I mean, I don't even know you guys, but obviously you're my favorite. My eyes got watery. Because I was telling my husband, I was like, there hasn't been a surprise yet. It has to be non-elim. It has to be non-elim. And then when you guys were coming in last, and my son's so funny because he's 4.5, but he like watches us watch the race, and I'm obviously like more emotional than my husband. My husband's very German. He's like expressionless, where I'm very expressive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're coming in last. Like I'm like, my face looks just distraught, and what my son's like, Mommy, it's okay. And then when you guys didn't get eliminated, I was so happy, and he's like, why do you still look sad? I'm like, I'm happy.
That's so sweet.
I know, it's so funny. Well, and then his favorite team, sorry, total tangent. Like I asked you a question and you answered great, but his favorite team
No worries.
was the Lumberjacks. And he cried when they were eliminated. And it's so sad because I'm like, Honey Bunches, it's just a game. But like, you know, he gets invested. It's the only non-cartoon show he watches is The Amazing Race. And it's so cute to like see him invested. But did you guys cry for yourselves when you didn't get eliminated? I almost cried for you.
I think I just felt relief.
Okay.
I was just like, oh my God, wow. We were jumping for joy more than we were crying.
Like
Yeah.
that
At least for me.
scream of we didn't get eliminated, like that was so real, and like that celebration with Phil, like that was authentic as heck. Like
Yeah.
we were just grateful to be alive another day. Also, I was just gonna say, like, if I was a viewer, Jeff and Pops like would have had my heart too. So like, totally get that.
Well, and they're from the Midwest, and there's not usually many Midwest teams racing. So anytime there is a team from the Midwest, we get excited in the Midwest because it's a lot of California, a lot of New York, sometimes Chicago and Texas. But like the Cowboys were from Oklahoma. You know, there's been a couple Missouri racers, but yeah, it's just rare that you see someone from like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, like Iowa. So we just get a little jazzed. So now I have random questions that literally don't flow at all, but it's just like things that popped into my head. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna write this down and ask it. Okay, I have some for each, so we'll start. Holden, I feel like people were really excited about your green on the map means you can hide a platoon of soldiers, which is 20 men comment. Was there any other map skills or knowledge that you knew that didn't make the air?
I mean, like, not really. I kind of feel like just, like, random facts pop into my head during, like, the context of, like just random things. I feel like I had a lot of those moments, but only a few came out. But, yeah, not too many map things. I would just say, if anyone ever wanted to learn how to use a map, I could teach them. But I don't know any of, like, I can't just rattle them off on my top of my head.
No, that's
I also
fine.
do feel that the race downplayed Holden's navigational ability. Like, it shows that we got lost a lot, and like we did, but there was also a lot of times when we beat teams because of our navigation, and I wanted to give Holden a shout out there because he's more than just a random fact book.
Yeah. No, tell us about that. Were you just like an expert navigator, or did you learn this skill from military school? Or did you take a course? Because I know like REI does map reading and like mountain navigating classes that you can go to Colorado and take. So how did you become such an expert navigator?
Yeah, so in high school I had I went to military school, so they taught us how to use maps there. But I've always been interested in maps. Like as a kid, I would be a troublemaker, so I'd be sent out into the hall. And in the hall, they decorate with maps normally. So I would just like look at maps and I would like wonder and then I would just think about ways to get from one city to another and like anything with a 5 at the end means you're going north to south. Anything with a 0 at the end means you're going west to east. In terms of big
I'm just thinking about
interstates,
Nebraska right
about
now.
that.
That's so true.
Yeah, so like I would think about that a lot. So like a lot like maps just became very, very intuitive to me. And like I thought that maps were pretty idiot proof going into the race. Like I told Han, like when we were preparing, like partially my fault, I was like, you don't really need to learn how to use a map, it's idiot proof. Like all you have to do is just know the cardinal directions and like and play connect the dots, right? Clearly that's not true. I think I've learned that from not only watching her, but watching other people play. To be like, maybe this isn't very intuitive. So like with the amount of like practice that I got, I think it was just very, very like intuitive. Like I remember like in Bulgaria, they didn't show this really, but on our way to like the first village when we were gonna do like the summer festival or whatnot, or like ward off the evil spirits with the apples, like
the furry people.
Han was like trying to get us there because I was driving, and like she was like, I have no idea where we're going. And it literally, like, when we swapped, all I had to do was flip over the map and look at it, and I was like, okay, we need to turn around.
I was looking at the wrong side of the map, like, straight up, like, it's like two-sided. I was just like, I don't know where we are.
Oh, because that's the first issue, right, is where am I on the map first? Where do I need to go second? And then how do I connect the dots? So, yeah, if you can't find where you are, how do you? Well,
yeah, she couldn't find where we were going either, yeah.
Oh, she couldn't find either. Okay.
No, just don't put me on behind the map or behind the wheel, I guess. So
gotta do one or the other. We gotta pick one.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So Holden, what advice do you have for people? How do you find yourself on a map? Like look at what's around you, like lakes or roads that you can see or landmarks, or how do you find yourself?
I think you always start with landmarks. I think landmarks are a pretty distinct thing that you can't like necessarily like backcountry, or when you're like trying to like get from, I don't know, like Nebraska to California, like start with landmarks. And I think that like from landmarks you will be able to tell a lot of things, because once you have reference to what you're looking at on the landmark, you'll know if you're facing east, south, west, or north. Also thinking about where the sun rose or like where the sun is setting, because that will tell you if the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So like that automatically gives you like, okay, so even if I don't know, like I have that reference, and if the thing is like facing the sun while it's setting, I know that way is westward. So I'm facing it from like that direction, and then just like building off of that. I think that like don't overthink it. Just play connect the dots. It's just a game of connect the dots where you have to add like a little bit of human intuition to it.
For sure. Love that. Some other things that I've laughed at / learned after watching the race or listening to people with podcasts is read the legend of the map, Derek and Claire, Claire was trying to navigate, and she was literally having them follow a bike trail at one point, and it was going to go into the woods where the road didn't, and Derek was driving, and he's like, okay, which way do I go, left or right? Like they came to a T, and there was a forest in front of them. She's like, I don't know how to say this, but I just really want you to go straight. And he's like, I can't. And then, or like they were following a boundary line or something random. And then Kim and Penn, like at one time they started way up high on a building somewhere, and they like looked out over a city, and then there was a bay and a flag, and they were like, you need to get to that flag. And same thing like you just said, she was just trying to look at what buildings were around that flag, because once they went down into the city, it's like the narrow streets and you can't see anywhere, you don't know any of the road names, but just looking at those landmarks helped her too. So I love map information. I love trying to learn map information, I should say. Okay, fun. So that was a Holden question, random Holden question. Here's a random Han question. Okay. Are you the first girl ever to race in a skort? Super random.
This is a fantastic question, and I got so many compliments on my skort. And also, when I was going into the race, like, I mean, I'm just a girl, like, and I want to like look as well as I can, starved and sleep deprived.
Don't we all?
Yes. And so I was like, how can we do this? Like, apparently there's girls that have like raced in tube tops. I don't know how that has stayed up. But I do think I am the first skort girly. I love my skort. Vori, sponsor me, please. And I literally remember like asking Holden, I'm like, which color should I get? Like, should I get this one or this one? And he's like, yo, I don't care. Like
0 Fs.
Yeah. But I'm going to say yes, and I'll wear that label with pride.
I love that. I love that. And then follow up on the final leg, you were like, F this skort. I'm doing this thing bottomless. I'm just going bikini bottoms everywhere we go. I think that's also an amazing race first. So I think Han was like, screw pants, screw shorts. I'm going to do this whole thing in a skirt and bikini bottoms.
This might be TMI, but like, I'm the type of person that just, if I could live life naked, like I would.
Yes. I love it.
And I don't really know what correlation I'm trying to make, but it was a water day, I was in my bikini bottoms. That's just what was happening. And like, there were points when I was trying to like where the squirt, but it just became too crazy, and Holden just shoved the squirt in the fanny pack, and yep, we were bikini.
That is
heavy.
awesome.
Bottom heavy.
I love it. I think that's for sure first. I don't think any girl's ever gone just bikini bottoms. And especially after, I mean, I don't want to talk about this, but after the car crash incident, you just like jumped out pantsless and went up to the man. I was like, bold strategy, girl. You just look like you're wearing a shirt. But I was like, way to go.
I didn't realize that that's what I did until I watched it back, and I was like, interesting choice.
It's okay. You were focused. Oh my gosh. That is funny. Okay, and then also, question for you both. I don't know the stats, but this felt like the most heavy water season ever, especially from a girl watching from Nebraska where we don't have water. I was just looking, I was like, water challenge, another water challenge, another water challenge, another water challenge. I'm like, where's the land challenge? You guys obviously were really good at water sports. I mean, because you grew up around water, right, in California, and so that prepared you, and then you got into surfing. Tell us about like just your natural preparation for the massive water events that happened.
Yeah, I mean, we're just water babies. Like, I grew up swimming D1, so like water has just like always been my happy place, and I love the ocean, the weightlessness of it all. Like, freaking love ocean documentaries. Like, that's like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
And I think like our parents really instilled a deep appreciation for the water in us, like growing up. Holden also grew up playing water polo, swimming, you know, doing all the things. But like, I think surfing is kind of just like an extension of that. Like, I can't describe to you the feeling unless you've surfed a wave, but it's just like a feeling of like pure blissful oneness, and like truly that's like where I feel at home. And so anyway, like if we talk about the hoverboarding challenge, it's like, I think like that was something that I should have gotten quicker than I did. But I think just like everyone's human, and like the pressure definitely got to me. And like, I think it's okay to like admit that. And like, I definitely couldn't look at water after that challenge. Like, Holden and I went home, and like our parents took us to the beach because they had no idea, like we didn't tell them about the race. And I just like would look at the water and start crying just from like the trigger of it all, of like it being like, Han, like this is your place and you couldn't be good enough for this place. You know, like just the negative self-talk that like I kind of went down. But you know, it's kind of like surfing. Like, Mother Nature gives you what Mother Nature's going to give you, and sometimes you can ride the wave and sometimes you just don't. And like, I think that's part of like something that like I've definitely come to peace with in the months after the race. Also, check out my Substack. I'm going to plug my Substack because I love writing, and I want people to read my writing, and I wrote about it, so check it out.
Yes, no, I literally read your Substack last night. First of all, what did you go to school for, and are you going to be a novelist? Because you're a very eloquent writer. And I was like, at first I was like, okay, this is about the Amazing Race. Then we got into family history and trauma and flashbacks, and I was just like reading it like I was reading a book. I was like, wow, this is really well written. So yes, everyone go read her Substack.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. But actually, this does lead me to one of the questions that I wanted to talk about, mental health on the race. And I think this season of the race got an interesting view of mental health. But I have two questions, so I'll ask both and we can answer one or both. But my first one is about the psych evaluation before the race, because I know there's like pretty heavy psych evals going into it. And then second of all, does the race offer any type of post-race counseling or therapy? Because I think some other game shows do offer that. And specifically in like me and my life listening to podcasts, second place Amazing Racers tend to really hold it with them for many years or a long time because they were so close. And like, I think the aviation guys, the Air Force guys a couple seasons ago, like they said, second place, you know, you're actually the first place loser, which is, they're like, why would you celebrate this? Like, they were having a hard time with it. I remember Team Extreme, Jen Hudak specifically struggled with it for a long time. And so I was just wondering, like, because that has to be mentally tough to deal with. But you guys are doing it well. And I know you had a lot of time, God bless you, after like it wrapped, you go back to reality, you can't tell anybody. So I'm sure there's like a time of pause and reflection. But yeah, I guess my question is, does the race offer counseling services? Because I feel like that would be really nice.
Through the grapevine, I heard they do, but no one reached out to us. Like they said they do.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it was tough like the months after because like we couldn't tell anyone and we didn't tell our families because we were so proud of our journey regardless of the outcome that we were like, we want them to be along for the ride. Like we want them to be surprised after we survive after like 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Holden and I really held that to ourselves. I think the thing with second place, like it's definitely a thought that crossed our minds. And I think something that like I was thinking about is like, I feel like second place, like at least for me, I don't know if Holden can attest, like I just feel like that's the story of my life. So like just like being so close but never feeling like I'm good enough to like get to that spot, you know? Like it's just something that like definitely I struggled with in swimming and like school and like I don't know, just like existing. And so I think like in terms of second place, like that's definitely like what I was triggered by, like while I was going in like the journey after of like recover. I literally walked across Spain for a month, like 840 kilometers because I was so triggered. I was like, I am going to get over the race after I do this. And I did.
That's amazing. My husband and I actually watched that on Rick Steves. Like there's like a path that tons of people come and hike, right?
It's gorgeous. It's wonderful. Like recommend to anyone. But I don't know. I think like we were talking to Joel and Garrett too. We love them. Like we look up to them. Like their race was like, we were like, those are the goats.
They had fun.
They had so much fun.
They had a blast.
And they were saying like, you know, it is a bummer. Like everyone wants to be first place, but sometimes like you're just not meant to win, but like it doesn't reflect on like, it doesn't reflect on you. And I also, they were saying like, it's kind of an opportunity to show people that like, you know, when you get second place, like it's not about the destination all the time. Like it's truly about like, we genuinely had fun every single leg through that race. And I think like there are a lot of teams that like let the stress get the best of them, and like being present is really difficult. And so like, I don't know, I think there's a greater plan. God is good. We're just very grateful. So
for sure, he is so good. And you guys got to race every single leg of the Amazing Race. You got to go to every destination. You got to see and perform every challenge. Like you missed out on nothing that the race had to offer. And I think other teams would kill for that opportunity, right? Like that's, I mean, a dream in itself to be on the race, which I guess I'm going to wrap it up here because I know we're like almost at an hour, but of everything you guys did on the race, you went to so many amazing places. What do you have a highlight? I mean, obviously the making it to the finale is a highlight, but do you have like a favorite place you visited or a favorite task you did or just like a happy memory when you look back on the race, you're like, yeah, that was a bright shining star moment in it for me?
I'm going to answer this without saying improving my relationship with my sister because I feel like I've said that for every interview.
And it's true, but at the same time, we're at a point where like it's improving my relationship
where I'm just
with
like,
my brother.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have to say that again.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to say that again. I think that something that I wish that they kept in that they did not. I'm happy they kept in my last line in the episode. But I something they asked me is like, what did you learn about yourself on this race? And like yeah, I think we got second. Which, like, I don't know. I think my experience about getting second is very different than Han's. Like, yeah, it sucks. But, like, everything that I said about being a competitive person, like, yeah, I don't want to lose. Of course I didn't want to lose. I'm probably only going to ever do this race once in my life if I'm to guess. So, like, yeah, I would like to have won it the one time I did it. And, like, I wanted to win it more than anything. But, like, the fact of the matter is that, like, I did my best. I did not win. And, like, I cannot be sad because, like, if I did everything that I could do, like, there was nothing that was going, like, that just meant someone played better than me, you know? And I think that, like, yeah, like, that's okay. Like, that's okay if someone played better than you, but, like, it's not okay if you could have played better yourself. So, like, yeah, it sucked, but at the same time, it was like, okay, well, I did everything I could do, and, like, because of that, I'm okay with it. In terms of, like, things that I enjoyed, like something that I wish that they had kept in the episode was like I was talking about like what I had learned about myself, and like I was like, I don't know how much I learned about myself because I do think we were very capable of what we achieved. I think what I've learned is like the world is such a big place, and something that I remember distinctly was we were in the cab in Indonesia after we had just voted for Scott and Lori, and I was just like looking outside, and I was like, wow, that's tough. We just did that to a team. Like, we just put them in a very precarious and dire situation. But like, wow, I am in Indonesia and I need to enjoy this. And then when we were in Dubai and I was flying out of the sky, I was like, wow, this is such a like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And then when we were in Bulgaria and we were like U-turn and I'm looking at the sky, I'm like, wow. And so something that I just realized is how big the world was, and it's all covered in one big blue sky. And so like, I think it's very easy to like pawn people's problems or like other countries or like other people and just be like, well, they live so far away from me, or like they do all of these things and like that's just so different from me. Why do I care? And I think it's like, I think we should all care. Like, we should all be empathetic because like we all live under one big blue sky, and like the world is so big, and like it is our collective home. And like I had the honor of being able to go from starting from LA and then finishing an entire journey around it all the way to Miami. Like, it was incredible, and I was able to do all of those things under one big blue sky, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I agree with you 100%. I feel like one of my favorite things about the race is that it showcases travel, and people travel a little bit in Nebraska, but it's not like super prevalent. Like, my husband and I think travel a lot more than most of our friends and family. And so I think a lot of the people here live vicariously through the show. And like you just said, going to all those places, seeing all of those things, and just connecting to the world and other people who live in different places. I felt like when I had our son and then we traveled, something about motherhood, I haven't been on the race, so this is the only way I know how to relate to what you're saying, but something about becoming a mother and just wanting to like keep your kids safe and protect them. Like, in my husband and I's travels around the world, like there's a mom everywhere her toddler is just angry and wants a snack, you know, or they miss their nap time and they're having a meltdown, or, you know, the kid's not interested at all in what we're here to see. Like, there's just something about, I think, being a mom and just wanting the best for your kids that's universal. And that's how I feel like I've connected to the world more in our travels. I'm sure being on the race is even next level, like so cool. And I love I've never thought about it like that. Like, everything you did was under the exact same blue sky. That's really beautiful. That's quite poetic. That's super cool. Okay, guys, let me check my questions, but I think that might have been all. Oh, okay. Last one. First of all, thank you guys so much for your time. You have busy lives. You're doing things. You're in school. Like, you have a lot of obligations. So thank you for sitting down with me. I appreciate it so much. But is there one spot in the amazing race that you would like to go back and visit again? And maybe bring other people or go back solo? Because, Han, the fact that you just did this huge solo trip, I have like 1,000 questions to ask on that, but that'd be like a whole tangent.
Yeah. I think the thing that I've learned from my travels is, and I spent a lot of time alone, and I freaking love spending time alone. Like we talked about this earlier, just being like eldest, avoidant, hyper independent daughter. Like, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't need help.
I don't need help. I swear. But I think that like something that I really learned during this time is like, I remember solo traveling, and like I was experiencing the most beautiful sunset in Indonesia, and like I was at the top of a mountain literally, and I just remember like wanting to share this moment with someone. Like, I looked around and like there was no one around me, and like something that really hit me is like, it's really not about the places that you go to. Like, I can go to any place at any time. Like, we really have free will, and I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but like the most beautiful moments are the moments that are shared. And I genuinely am just so grateful that I got to share this experience with my brother. And I know I'm not answering your question, but it's
okay.
Really more about like who I get to spend and like share these wonderful moments with. So
yeah,
it's not about the place, it's about the people. You guys have probably heard that trite saying a million times, but it's true. I swear.
So true. That is such a beautiful thing to take away from it. And also, yes, thank you guys so much for sharing that. Like, hearing you guys say that getting closer was like one of your favorite things is so beautiful. And I think, and it was highlighted on the race, and I think that gives hope to a lot of people out there who do have like struggling sibling relationships. But I think that's really beautiful, and I wish you guys could like write a book or something, because I would read it. But
I do want to say though that like our relationship really isn't perfect. Holden and I are still working on it. And like, thank you for sharing that, Tara. Like, I feel like there have been points in our relationship where we felt the same. It's not like we don't have a relationship, but it's like really on the rocks. Just being honest. And like, it does get better. I think blood is thicker than water, and I don't know. Hopefully we can give like other sibling duos that have struggling relationship hope.
Yeah.
That it does get better.
Yeah, I think you totally did. You guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the podcast and answering all of my crazy questions. I really appreciate both of you. And it was a pleasure to watch you guys on the race. And you said you think this is the only time you're going to be on the race. I could definitely see you guys getting a call for All Stars. I would love to watch you again. I told my husband, I feel like you guys were the American sweethearts of this season. Like, everyone loved you. No one watched and like, oh, I'm not a fan of Han Holden. You'll never hear that from anyone. So thank you guys again for your time and for sharing your thoughts and wisdom and insight. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Tara. This was the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Details podcast by The Heartland. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow along on Instagram @TheDetailsPod. Subscribe on YouTube and leave us a review. Turn on your notifications to hear new episodes every Monday. See you next week. Bye.